Good morning. I'm John Bitson, the Menard Family Director of the Sheila and Robert Challey Institute for Global Innovation and Growth. This morning, I'd like to introduce you to Fariz Huseynov. Fariz is a professor of finance at North Dakota State University and a Challey Institute faculty fellow. Welcome, Fariz.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. You have a lot of very interesting research related to the way that the private sector can play a role in peace building and economic development in war-torn areas. What kinds of questions do you aim to tackle with your research?
Yes, we're looking at how after the conflict, different societies that were adversaries, they can achieve a sustainable peace through the use of modern technologies. So when we look at the past work in the field, a lot of scholars are talking about how we can achieve long-lasting peace with economic development, with the help of international aid agencies, and with the improving relationship between these conflict sides. We're looking at the private sector's engagement and the contribution to this peace building through modern technologies such as blockchain technology, blockchain technology is essentially a distributed ledger system where the participants have to validate every transaction so that it could be built into the blocks and records all the past transactions. So in this sense, we think that we believe there's an opportunity with this technology. We can bring conflict sides after the conflict, and when there's a ceasefire and they settle down with some kind of peace agreement. But the blockchain technology can bring them really together to actually interact with each other and engage in some economic activities. And we are trying to figure out, and we're in our research we're arguing that there are several ways the blockchain can application of blockchain technologies can actually help us achieve sustainable peace. So it be through sustainable economic development, be it the collaboration between the fighting groups, or building the state agencies capacity, institutional capacity, and most importantly, governance of the process. Because blockchain allows different parties to get together and have a dialogue with each other through building a confidence through codes. So we believe there's a chance that they will trust the system more and be more participatory, rather than waiting for a central international agency coming in and telling them how to do it. Yeah. So that's where we think it's more of a bottom-up approach, and we like that. But there's a role for state there too, in both sides. But we think this will help us to achieve long-lasting peace with the participation of the private sector, which is already happening in several areas in the blockchain technologies being used.
Yeah, very interesting. So you think about private sector transactions or any kind of transaction, you have to trust the other party. And it's not, obviously in a war-torn area, trust has been shattered. And so really it sounds like the main contribution, or one of the big contributions of blockchain, is just allowing parties to trust each other so that they can engage in those types of transactions.
Yes, exactly. The one literature says that the governance is a big problem, and building the institutional capacity is a big problem, but also bringing these two sides together is a big problem, because they don't trust each other, and they don't generally trust a centrally organized system as well. So with the blockchain's help, maybe we can do a little bit more decentralized approach, and where different actors from both sides can come together, and they can have some say in the process, in the governance of the process. So we believe that hopefully will help the peace to last longer, and I think there's always economic intuition here and economic rationale there too, and blockchain helps to satisfy the economic needs of participants.
Yeah, I think the importance of your research is very obvious. Could you talk just a little bit more about the impacts that your research in general has on society?
So in this case, we're looking at if we're looking at the post-conflict societies, they always have some trauma from the conflict. They have a lack of confidence in other players in the region. So the blockchain technology can help them to actually come back to the economic activities and to participate and be relevant to decision making and essentially help them to figure out what role they can play in the development of their society, but also in the neighboring societies, so that we have a more stable regions rather than just a stable communities, but fragile regional in development. So hopefully with the blockchain we can tie these different societies, the groups of society and communities together, where they can interact with each other with more confidence and with more transparency.
Excellent. Are there some additional questions that you'd like to answer in the future or address with your research in the future?
Yes. Beyond that, we're looking at the financial development. We're looking at how financial sector plays a role in post-war economic growth. So what are the incentives? What are the channels that financial sector plays a role or contributes to sustainable peace and economic development? Because we know research shows that you need two things. Obviously, peacekeeping operations to settle things, and second, economic development. But we have all disagreements on how we achieve this economic development. Top-down, bottom-up, centralized, decentralized, shared, or centralized governance. So we're trying to take approach that and there how financial sector can provide incentives for private enterprises. So they come back to the conflict, war-torn area, and they see hope there. They see hope for themselves and for their communities and for the whole region. And I think we want to look at that and see whether financial development plays a significant role in the development of war-torn areas. That's another question that I'm looking forward to analyze.
Excellent. This is very interesting research, and I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and discuss your research today, and looking forward to seeing what you find out in the future. So thanks.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.